The Elimination Chamber pay-per-view for 2025 has come and gone, and there are so many big moments from the show that we need to talk about, both inside the chambers and out. So many new potential storylines as we are gearing towards WrestleMania have developed. A lot of them that people did expect to happen, and a lot of swerves that not a lot of people saw coming, myself included in that group. What we're going to do is go through each match and break down some of the major components of it, what I thought directions going forward, as well as a star rating on a scale from 0 to 5 stars. If you guys like the video, please consider subscribing down below. And while you're there, leaving a like, leaving a comment, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it with the Women's Elimination Chamber match. So for the chamber matches, I'm not going to go spot by spot because that would take absolutely forever. We did get two pretty good chambers this year, so I would recommend you go out and watch them, especially if you're a fan of WWE and you like to keep up on some of the major story beats. What I am going to do, though, is sort of break down each competitor's performance in there, talk about some of the major storylines, some of the best spots, and the winner and new directions going forward. So I'm going to go in order of eliminations. Bayley was out first. I'm just generally not a fan of Bayley in most matches, and in this match she was just sort of a background player, nothing significant really. She didn't add to the match in any significant way, but her matches weren't sloppy and botchy like they have been recently, so she was just sort of there. Roxy was out next, Roxanne Perez. In my opinion, the standout work rate star of the match. I was really rooting for her to go the distance and win. Seeing her get eliminated, a little sad for me, but while she was in there, she did do some good stuff. Then we had Alexa Bliss. She went out next. A lackluster performance, really, from Alexa. Very sloppy in the ring, and her sort of creepy character that she's portraying, while I don't think it was as abrasive in this match as it has been in the past, I feel it was much more dialed back and measured. It still was a little bit groan inducing and eye rolling and just generally not for me. So I very much wasn't impressed with her in this match. I haven't been impressed with her since she's come back, but she's been gone for like years. So you can give her that leniency to, get back into the ring, shake off some of the rust. Final two competitors, and I'm not talking about Naomi yet. I'll save that for a little bit later. Liv Morgan, she was really the glue that held this match together. She had a real ring general performance where she was the first one in, last one out, and really was there for a lot of the major spots, and all of her stuff looked really great. Over the past year, it's been such a treat to see Liv Morgan develop as a wrestler in front of our eyes and gain this confidence and this ability to have great matches on a regular basis, and she really flexed and displayed that here over the past couple months. And with this match, she's really made a great case for her having a spot on the WrestleMania card. And then we get our winner, who was Bianca Belair. I thought it was a good winner to get people excited about Mania because she's either going to face Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, depending on who wins that match on Monday. In my opinion, it'll probably be a triple threat, which I'm very excited for. Not the best built winner. She hasn't really been built on TV to be this sort of big star. She's been doing a lot of stuff in the tag division, but now as soon as that's dissolving, it sort of seemed just like a shortcut way to push her into the singles division now that Jade and Naomi are going to go off and have their own little program. So it was a good way to transition her over in the singles division, but I don't know. I just wasn't enthused by her winning, even though she is one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE. I just feel like they haven't really built her up enough to get me excited about a singles Mania match for her. But she was very good in the match, and she's a good winner. So let's go through some notable spots. I have some written down here. Let's start with the beginning when Jade came back and eliminated Naomi, made her medically incapable, or incapable rather, of continuing the match. I loved it. I thought it was such a great way to start the match on a very unique note. It was something that I honestly wasn't expecting to happen right at the beginning. I was expecting Jade to come back maybe mid-match and eliminate Naomi, or towards the end, but having it right at the beginning was absolutely fantastic. It sort of leaves this little air of mystery for what's going to happen on SmackDown next week, and it does such a great job about building to their program, which they'll eventually have maybe at Mania. So I absolutely loved that spot. Roxanne hit a La Mystica on Bailey, which I was like blown away by when I saw that. It looked fantastic. Essentially, it's a move where you do a head scissors Hurricane Rana esque move and then take the person down and put them into a Fujiwara armbar. It looked fantastic. I loved it. Bianca's hair whip to Liv was crazy. Bianca gets one of these hair whips every probably 6 months to a year. Like the best example was against Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. Must have been WrestleMania 36, I think. This one lived up to it. This one was brutal. It sounded nasty. I think it sounded better because after it hit lived, it sort of ricocheted and bounced off the pod, so it gave that extra little bit of resonance. But I thought it was a great spot. And overall, I thought all of the eliminations in this match were great. Every single one was sequenced so perfectly, built to very well, and there was a lot of near falls in this match that really were perfectly placed to really make the crowd bite on this person's gone, like especially with Liv and Bianca at the end, where you were so sure Liv was gonna win based on some of the spots, and then Bianca kicked out, and then the momentum transfers, and you're so sure Bianca's gonna win, but then Liv kicks out, and just that back and forth dynamic, it was so great. And the actual pinfalls leading up to that when people were eliminated, I loved them all. I can't say the same about the men's chamber later. So it's not just like, oh, they got eliminated, there's a cheap pop for that. I really think they did a fantastic job about building to each elimination, and I really liked it. But I think a lot of the work in between the eliminations was just there. As I said, the Liv and Bianca at the end were the highlight, but the 15 or 20 minutes leading up to that, it was sort of just, okay, this is a lot of wrestling happening in front of me. I feel like really it didn't do a good job of incorporating the stipulation. The Elimination Chamber for so many years has not been this brutal, violent structure that WWE is portraying it as, and that was really prevalent in this match. I'll take a little bit of a break right here to talk about that because I feel like it was pervasive in this match, more so in the men's match for me. But WWE have been putting up this idea that the Elimination Chamber is so deadly, so vicious, so vile that people's lives get changed, people's careers get shortened as a result of being in this match. Wade Barrett said he's been in 3 and that they were absolutely brutal and took years off his career. And then you get into the actual match and it's just people getting pushed into the chain link a little bit lightly, maybe someone getting thrown into a pod, someone getting dumped on the outside where they now put padding so it doesn't look as brutal. It's just the jargon and the action don't match up to each other. The words that are being expressed by WWE, this is the most brutal structure in the company. It changes lives, it shortens careers, isn't followed up in the action, especially this, because I felt a lot of the action even in a normal match would have looked weak. It would have looked not very hard hitting. So being in this environment where it's supposed to bring out violence, it didn't really work. It was worse in the men's match, and I'll talk about it when we get there, but it was pretty bad in the women's match as well. In terms of future directions, I do think it's going to be a triple threat match at Mania. It's going to be Rhea versus Bianca versus Io. I don't know exactly how they get there. Maybe they do some schmoz screwy finish on Monday with Io versus Rhea. Maybe Bianca gets involved in that, and that sets up the triple threat. But I do feel like that is where they're going. One thing this match did do for me is it made me hopeful for the women's scene at WrestleMania. I think a lot of people have been doing really good jobs recently about showing showing up, showing that they want it, that they want their spot on the Mania card. Roxanne and Bailey are going to have a blow off soon, and I could see that being a singles match on Mania. Liv needs something to do. She's the tag champ now, so she could get a match. Lyra Valkyria has been killing it on Raw, so she should get a match. I'm not the biggest Chelsea Green guy, so I'm not too sure about that. Jade and Naomi, that seems like a kind of WrestleMania breakout match for Jade Cargill. There's just so much going on in the women's division right now. And in the WrestleMania season, that is a great, great thing to see. So this match really made me excited for the WrestleMania card. And while it wasn't a great match in itself, it did a lot of things right. It got me excited about Jade versus Naomi. It got me excited to see what Liv is going to be doing at WrestleMania. Bianca now facing off against either Io or Rhea seems a very exciting prospect. We're getting Bailey versus Roxanne Perez. There's just a lot of dovetailing that's going on here that worked very, very well in this match's favor. So I guess I'm more impressed by it than I actually liked it. I gave it 3 3/4 out of 5 stars. It was probably a 3.5 star match, but I really, really loved the Jade Cargill beatdown on Naomi at the beginning. Next was Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus taking on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I'm not going to talk too much on this match because it was just sort of there. Perfectly acceptable. Not great, not bad. Had just fine action, a fine story, fine character work. All of it was just acceptable. It was on a pay-per-view, which is a little bit weird that it was just sort of there. Like, I guess pay-per-views aren't what they used to be. Like, you don't have to pay for them anymore, so you shouldn't expect greatness from them. If I had paid like $40 for this pay-per-view and I had this match, I would probably be annoyed by it. But since I don't, I'm just sort of like, oh yeah, it was fine. Okay, I'm okay with it. I gave it 3 stars. That's sort of my just straight down the middle. Yep, it's a good match. They didn't do anything incredible. They didn't do anything bad. It was just sort of a TV match being presented in front of me. 3 out of 5 stars. Next, we had Kevin Owens going into an unsanctioned match with Sami Zayn. I loved this match. I thought it was incredible. I'll maybe give a little spoiler. I thought this was the best WWE match of the year so far. And I feel like it's going to be hard to top a lot of the time because WWE doesn't give their athletes a lot of the time unless they're in the main event scene. These longer matches for them to tell more intricate, more dynamic stories and be able to build in violence and action the way this match did. Some notable spots: barbed wire chair. It obviously looked gimmick. It didn't look like real barbed wire, but I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked when Sami Zayn, they were out fighting in the crowd, which is not a spot I normally liked, but Sami added a little zest to it by giving Kevin 2 back body drops through 2 different tables. Like, he hit one, he was going to walk away, saw another, he's like, oh, I'll do that too, and picks him up, does it again. 2 apron power bombs at the end looked absolutely brutal, and Sami hit a ridiculous half and half suplex through a chair. There's so many spots in this match to really cover that I'm not going to do them all, similar to the chamber where 50% of this video would just be, and this spot happened and it was awesome, and then this spot happened and it was awesome. So I'm not going to do that. Definitely, this is the biggest recommend from this card for me. Go out and check this match. I like the story going into it as well because there wasn't really a ton of story. Like, there wasn't this month-long build to this match. It was sort of, they let the history speak for itself. A lot of people who have been watching WWE know the history between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and some fans can even go back to the ladder wars they had as Generico and Steen in Ring of Honor. So there is history there that is just expressing itself. That you don't have to tell a new story. You just have to link fans' minds back to those stories that's already been told in NXT, in Ring of Honor, and in WWE, and they'll understand what they are in for. And man, did they deliver on it. There was great violence through the neck, throughout. They did a really good job about selling the injuries in this match. You see so many just random plunder brawl matches where it's like, here's a spot, then here's a spot, then here's a spot, and they're just going, 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 going. And it's like they're not selling any differently than they would in a standard singles match, even though this is supposed to be a heightened scale of violence. But they nailed it perfectly in this match. Sami Zayn, in particular, had such a great sell job in this match. One of the best ones I've seen in years, where you go, he is injured. He's hurt. Like, there's no way Sami Zayn isn't injured based on what he is doing here. It was great. And I liked that they didn't use too many weapons. They sort of repeatedly used a couple different weapons. It did get a little bit too much at some point with the tables, in my opinion, but I like that they just used mostly chairs and they didn't go outside of that. Like, they didn't do thumbtacks and kendo sticks and the steel steps and everything you would commonly associate with just, oh, it's another plunder brawl. They sort of really gave this match character based on the minimalist amount of weapons they used. Having said that, I do have a big criticism with this match. If you are bringing out barbed wire in a match, you need to have blood. The story doesn't really work if you don't have blood. And this match, I think, on its own needed blood anyway, because it's an unsanctioned match. You're trying to portray it as being uber disgusting violence. That's how commentary put it over anyway. And the selling and the reactions afterwards really put it over as being this grotesque display of violence. And blood is an easy way to convey that idea, especially when you don't use blood that often, like WWE doesn't. Like, they use it in Hell in a Cell with Punk and Drew, Cody bleeds sometimes, but other than that, they haven't really used it a lot. And this is the perfect opportunity to do it. And I guess they were saving some for the angle at the end, but I think it should have been done here. I think both guys should have been bleeding, and you could have conveyed the angle at the end without blood. This match needed the blood more, and it didn't really get it. I also didn't love the beginning. It started out as just sort of this standard generic brawling through the crowd. Nothing really exciting happened. Whenever I see him go into the crowd, I sort of go, ugh, because I know it's just going to be punch, walk, 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 punch, walk, 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 punch, walk, 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 walk. Oh, there's a trash can here. Boom, hit him with a trash can. It's also formulaic, and it was like that at the beginning for maybe the first couple minutes. But by the end of the match, I wasn't even thinking about that, because they just did such a fantastic job about continuously building the violence over the course of the match, to where at the end, you're shocked by every single kick out in ways that you are not normally in other matches. In a lot of matches, you're shocked when someone kicks out because they hit their finisher. Like with the women's tag match on Raw, when Liv and Raquel beat Bianca and Jade, or Bianca and Naomi, for the titles. There was a lot of kickouts in that match, and they were shocking because she was hitting the Oblivion, or they hit the KOD, these moves that normally put people away. And seeing someone kick out of that is shocking, and it does get a pop. This match was different. This match, you were shocked they were kicking out because you thought they were dead. You didn't have to make that sort of leap in kayfabe logic to say, oh, that's the finisher, therefore the match is over. Oh my God, they kicked out. That's crazy. Anyone watching this match who never knew Sami Zayn, never heard of Kevin Owens, never seen them wrestle before, knew nothing of their finishers, would be shocked by some of the kickouts in this match, because they were based on violence, not sports entertainment. And I really, really loved it. I gave the match 4.75 out of 5 stars, the highest rating I've given a WWE match this year. This is higher than any rating I have given a WWE match last year as well. Best match in 2 years, in my opinion. Just couldn't quite get to that 5-star threshold because no blood in the beginning was a little bit boring. While I'm here, I'm going to talk about the Orton return as well. I loved the Randy Orton return. I thought it was awesome. Orton coming out to a huge pop to not necessarily save Sami Zayn, but more just to not let Kevin Owens inflict any more damage because he hates him so much. Really, really like Randy did a good job about carrying on the momentum from the match. Because if he came out and had sort of a lackluster beatdown, like we would associate with a 2009 Randy Orton, and just sort of some weak punches and some whatever, followed by an RKO, it wouldn't have been very good. But he came out and he brought heat. And when he set up for the punt, I was so excited. And Kevin getting out of there at the last moment and the security stopping Randy, perfect, perfect touch. And putting the punt in there is such a great way to escalate this storyline from when Kevin took out Randy with a pile driver. I thought that the match was near perfect, but the angle afterwards was perfect. Now we're on to the main event match, the semi-main event segment, the men's elimination chamber match. And I'll start by saying I thought this match as a whole was inferior to the women's match. The complaint I had earlier with the women's match, where they're trying to portray it as being uber violent and it not being able to really live up to that hype, was doubly pervasive in this match, because you have people in this match like Punk and like Drew, who I've seen them bleed on television before, and they were just doing a lot more hard hitting moves. Like, the moves they were doing in this match connected more than they did in the women's match. So it was just sort of a little bit more disconnect of why doesn't it seem as violent as it should. The chain link spots were goofy. The mats on the outside just look laughably bad. Like, and I sort of sound like a jerk for saying that. I get that I want the mats to be taken away and they're just to be steel grating on the outside. But if you're going to do an elimination chamber match, then do an elimination chamber match. Like when Drew and Punk did their Hell in a Cell match, they didn't skimp on the violence. They had a Hell in a Cell match, so they did it like it was supposed to be done. Like, if you're not going to deliver an elimination chamber match like you did in the early to mid 2000s, just scrap the stipulation. I'm fine with that. I wouldn't be upset if it was gone and replaced with something else. But if you're gonna have a violent match, it needs to be a violent match. And that sort of, maybe it's because I had those thoughts weighing on my mind from the women's match when I watched this, but it just seemed it seemed worse in this match. I feel like it was inferior to the women's match in many ways. There was less uncertainty about the winner in the women's match. Really, it was a toss up who was going to win. I thought that Liv had a good shot, Bianca had a good shot, maybe Alexa. I thought Roxy had a good shot. I pretty much knew it wasn't going to be Bayley or Naomi, but those other four, they were up for grabs. It could have been any of them. In this one, it was Cena or it was Punk, and those were your only two options, really. So, less certainty. Like when they were getting pinned by Damian Priest or Logan Paul, I was like, all right, come on. They're not going out like that. The eliminations were less chaotic and less exciting. It was sort of just more generic. Like, everything I thought was going to happen happened, but not in a unique or interesting way. I shouldn't be able to book an elimination chamber match because I'm just some schlep on the internet. I'm not a booker. I don't have an insight for this business. So when I say, yeah, Damian Priest is going to get a quick elimination on Drew McIntyre, is probably going to roll him up, and then Drew McIntyre is going to freak out afterwards, Claymore Damian Priest, and then someone will, get the pin on him because Drew intervened. That's exactly how it happened in the match, and that's exactly what was in my head beforehand. I feel like it just didn't take many chances. That is with the exception of Cena versus Punk. I thought Cena versus Punk, sort of shockingly in my mind, was easily far and away the best part of this match. And to say Cena and Punk have great chemistry is sort of a ridiculous statement because we've seen their matches 2011, 2012. They're incredible rivalry. But that was 13 years ago. they're older now. Punk, he's not as good in ring as he was, and Cena was never very good in ring, and now he's worse. So you would expect them to not really have that cohesion that they used to, but they had it. They were fantastic in this match, and I don't like praising Cena, but he did a really good job in this match. Everything he was supposed to do, he nailed. And his normal cartoonish behavior that I really hate to see, that was so present in the Royal Rumble and so annoying, just wasn't in this match. And Punk was really consistently great throughout the match. I would say he was the standout wrestler in this match for me, where whenever he was in there, he was doing really great stuff with other people. Some of the other guys, Drew was just part of the furniture, and that's not good, because after some bad booking on Raw and SmackDown and his lackluster performance in the Rumble, the booking just isn't behind him. And that's not saying lackluster because Drew is bad. That's saying lackluster because the booking is kind of screwing him. Priest, just another guy to make up the numbers. Logan Paul, he did that cool splash off the top of the pod, but other than that, didn't really do anything. Tons of missed opportunities with him. So many cool things he could have done in the match. And Rollins was in there for a long, long time, but only really did some exciting stuff at the end when it was him versus Punk versus Cena left in the chamber. Other than that, just a lot of mid stuff. Like Punk versus Cena was really good, but nothing else in the match was there. It was all just mid. It was all just stuff happening around you. It was every single spot you see in every single match featuring Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins. They all happened in this match. And they didn't happen in a different or unique way because they were in the chamber. They just happened, and there happened to be a chamber around them. So I didn't really love that. The Seth elimination at the end was very, very good. And then him coming back afterwards to stop Punk, and Cena pulls him in and puts him in the STF, like cheating Punk out of the victory. I was weirded out by it at the time. I sort of was going, I don't know if I like that. And let me explain to you why I didn't like it, and then explain to you why I did like it immediately after when the final segment happened. This may be an outdated or sort of unrealistic view of wrestling, but I very much value meritocracy in the wrestling, which means if someone consistently performs at a high level, they deserve to be rewarded with higher spots on the card and bigger and better opportunities. And Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins have all been consistent figures on my television screen for the past year that I've been consistently watching WWE television, and they don't get the match that a lot of them probably deserve. Cena does. This guy who just strolled up, both in storyline and out of storyline, strolled up and was like, yeah, it's my last year, so I'm getting to main event WrestleMania. I don't like it. I maybe it's because I don't like Cena, so I'm just looking for excuses to rag on him a little bit because I do think he is a bad wrestler. But it's just one of my least favorite choices for a winner because I don't feel like he deserves it. Sure, it may be the biggest match they can put on, but as someone who regularly watches programming, like I watch matches from SmackDown, I watch Raw every week, I'll catch bits from NXT, I want to see the people who consistently entertain me on a weekly basis to be rewarded with high profile matches at WrestleMania. And Drew getting a mid card match against Damian, and Punk and Seth potentially being thrown in a triple threat, maybe Punk going off with Logan Paul, it just doesn't feel as big time as those guys deserve based on the work they put in. So immediately after the bell rung, I was disappointed that it was Cena. And I still am disappointed that it's Cena. I think we're going to get a really cool storyline coming out of it, but I would have preferred Punk. I think Punk has been putting in the work. He's been there every week. He's been having great matches, great angles, great promos, stuff that you can't really expect out of John Cena. I think they're going to be pushed on storyline to get to WrestleMania, but it's going to be like it's going to be them riding a wave rather than with Punk. It would have been consistently climbing to reach a crescendo when we get to Mania in April. But all that aside, let's talk about the closing angle because it was pretty good and just pretty good. It should have been legendary, an all-timer segment. That's what it should have been. But there was just so many little tidbits along the way that made it not so. Let's start with the things I like. Cena turning heel on Cody Rhodes to align with The Rock. Fantastic story development. If you're going to tell the story of John Cena fighting Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship, this is the way to do it. Giving Cena something new, giving him something unique rather than just being Super Cena, the babyface who we're all sick of, giving him a little bit of dynamic we haven't seen before. Yes, that is what we need. And I liked the beatdown at the end. I liked the way it was filmed. Cody and Cena going for a hug and then Cena's face sort of falling and The Rock doing whatever that was. And then Cena beating down Cody, but beating him down in a way that it's like, okay, the beat's down, it's done. Oh, no, it's not done. Cena's going to hit him some more. Okay, now we're done. Oh, no, it's not done. He just kept going for him. And I thought this segment was over like 3 times before it actually was. And Cena turning heel, I don't know. I've seen statistics out there that's like the first time in 21 years, which makes sense because he was, 2003, 2004 last time he was a heel. It is a big moment, and it's one that's going to be remembered for a long time. So I have to sit there and ask myself, why was Travis Scott out there? Why was he out there? Just because The Rock wanted him out there? And why was Travis Scott beating up Cody Rhodes? That doesn't make sense. That's not going to factor into the storylines anymore. Hey, that's bad. Don't do that. And also, we're here in the ring because The Rock had what is, and I don't think I'm understating this, one of the worst promos I've heard in my entire life on SmackDown. 20 minutes of just this shambolic rambling about nothing is what he produced. And now we're here for the payoff to that segment. So forgive me if I wasn't excited coming into this. They got me excited in the segment, but I was not excited to see John Cena, The Rock, and Cody Rhodes face off in the ring. How can I not be excited about that? The 3 biggest stars within the last 20, 30 years all coming together to face off against each other. And I'm not excited because The Rock is just such a loser tool bag in his new role. He just bad stuff. Not good. Like I'm intrigued, but I'm not excited, I think is my overall take here. Because I know a match with John Cena that's going to get 20 or 30 minutes or whatever is going to be bad. Unless they do a no DQ and The Rock is in there and maybe Kevin Owens pops in or something and they have this sort of schmoz with a bunch of people, that could be exciting. But if they just do a standard singles match, Cena's not a good wrestler. And it's gonna be boring. So I'm not excited for that. I don't have confidence that The Rock and Cena will be on TV up until Mania, maybe 1 or 2 appearances, but they're not going to be there every single week, so they're not going to get to build this program. I think it's going to be bad. And I hope it's not. I hope it's incredible. I hope we're talking about The Rock at the end of Mania like we were at the end of Mania last year, where we go, oh my God, The Rock was absolutely incredible. And I want to say the same thing about Cena. Oh my goodness, Cena was awesome in that feud, but I just don't see it. So I'm more intrigued than I am excited, I suppose. And also, I don't know if I gave my star rating for the men's chamber match. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Elimination Chamber. I thought the women's match was superior to the men. Do you agree with me? Did you like the Rock and Cena and Cody segment more than I did? Probably. Most people seem to love it, whereas I just sort of was like, oh, that was really cool and that was really fun. Are you excited for Cena versus Cody at Mania? I'm not. And I'm probably the low guy on that. I'm probably the outsider on that stance. And I understand that. And it's warranted for me to be the outside because really, looking outside of my cynical, jerky Mark mind, it was a great segment to end the show. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Did you like the matches more than I do? What did you think of Kevin versus Sammy? I'd love to know what you guys thought, because I thought it was an absolutely outstanding, phenomenal match. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought. And while you're down there, please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. I'll be coming at you guys in a month with the WrestleMania 41 review, so keep your eyes out for that. But until then, I have been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling. I would like to thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time.